Hi everybody and welcome to this impromptu little video. I was just come upstairs in the music room listening to a few records. I brought my laptop up with me and I always start watching a few videos, and lo and behold, my old mate Beatles Beatles channel has come up with a solo Beatles tag for 2024. You'll have to excuse me because I'm reading some notes so that I know what the questions are, and I've had to put the dreaded granddad glasses on, and I haven't had a shave or anything because I wasn't expecting to be doing a video today. So it is 9 questions that you've got to try and answer. So join in. You know, Beatletone wants as many people as he can to join in with this. It's sort of like a bit like a sort of response to Rachel's Ghosts video that she did at the beginning of the year, which was the Beatles tag for 2024. So this is a solo Beatles tag, so it's like a sister sort of video or tag. Going through this tone, I've got to admit some of my answers are the same as yours, which they would, because we're similar sort of people, aren't we? Similar sort of age, similar sort of background. So I will apologise if some of mine are the same as yours. I think I've got everything in order, but I might not have. So if I make a few cock-ups along the way, I will apologise. If the light looks a bit crap in here, it's because I haven't got my light on. I'm just sat in front of my window at the minute, because like I said, I wasn't expecting to be doing a video. So if you're sitting comfortably, then we'll begin with Beatletone's solo Beatles tag for 2024. So the first question is, question 1 is, show the first solo Beatles album that you owned. And if you've got any little stories or anything about them, you can say it as well. Well, the first solo Beatles album that I owned was Shaved Fish, which I got in the beginning of 1991, which was just after John, sadly, you know, was murdered. And this was the easiest way of getting a lot of his songs, because at the time I only really sort of like knew Imagine. This isn't actually the original copy that I did get, because as some of you know, I did have to get rid of my original record collection in the early 2000s. But this is actually a Greek edition, and the strange thing about this is it's actually gatefold. Still on Apple. Lovely sounding album. Obviously you've got, you know, all John's greatest hits up to 1975 on that. Question 2 was, show the latest solo Beatles album that you bought. Again, this one's similar to you, Tone, because I'm waiting for my Band on the Run to come. So the last proper solo Beatles album that I bought was McCartney 3x3. And I'm going to show mine because you showed yours, so I'm going to show mine. Lovely coloured variant. So if you've seen this album before, folks, I will apologise, but this is part of the fun of doing a tag. You get to show things that you've already shown. So mine is what I think this is called, Stripe or the Flags or something, I don't know. Lovely sounding album as well, by the way. I have played this a few times. So that is question 2 done. Some of these questions have more than one answer to them, by the way. So when you've finished this, watching this video at the end, please check out Beatletone's Beatles channel. Number 3 is, show your favourite solo Beatles albums. At first I thought it was just you've got to show one album, but you've got to show an album from John, Paul, George and Ringo, if you can. If you haven't got no Ringo ones or George ones, then you can't do it, can you? So my favourite album from John is actually Walls and Bridges, from 1974. This is an original UK pressing, and this came with a flip round sort of like cover. It opened up like that. So then on the back we could make John look slightly different in bits. It was only 2, I always thought it was 3, but it is actually only 2. When I got this I thought I'd been duped. It did come with a book and I say book, it's like a pamphlet. So you got a little pamphlet which was the origins of the name Lennon or something, and then you got the inner sleeve. How happy Paul Oh, John looks on there. See, this is doing one off the top of your head, isn't it, sort of thing. A lovely shiny Apple record, UK copy. And personally, I do think that this is one that does need a box set. So hopefully after they've done the Mind Games one, if that does come out later this year, as we've been promised, we will get the Walls and Bridges one. Hopefully. Oh, what's that in here? Hang on a minute, something tucked in there. There was 1 second, folks. I'm not sure what that is. Why is that tucked in there? Why is that tucked in there? Oh, it's a thing from Yoko Ono that was put in the Sunday Times on January the 18th, 1981, saying thank you to the fans for all the support and everything after John's murder. I forgot that was in there. That's actually made me feel all cold. Yeah, that's strange. Isn't that strange? That being in there. I forgot all about that, to be honest. So yeah, so my favourite album off John is Walls and Bridges. Fantastic album. Obviously, you know, I love all John's albums. Even one I'm going to mention later on. I think all of his albums, for saying, you know, he didn't really release that many solo albums, did he? You know, because obviously he retired for a bit, didn't he? And then obviously was murdered. From my favourite album off Paul was actually by Paul and Linda McCartney, which is Ram. So I hope this one does count. This was Paul's second solo album, again released on Apple, and there's supposed to be so many things on here that I mean that's a famous one, isn't it? That one there. John took offence at that, didn't he? And of certain songs on here, like Three Legs and things like that. But yeah, fantastic album, and this was the only album that was ever credited to being by Paul and Linda McCartney, wasn't it? So yeah, fantastic album. Check this out. You can usually pick these up pretty cheap anyway. From George, I've gone for George's 1979 album, simply called George Harrison. This was on his Dark Horse album, Dark Horse label, sorry, and the album is very, very overlooked, I think. Excuse me. It's got some fantastic songs on it. It's got a reworking of Not Guilty, and it's got the sort of hit Blow Away on here as well. And Here Comes the Moon, which was George's answer to Here Comes the Sun. Soft Hearted Hannah. So there's quite a bit of humour in this record as well. Fantastic album. Very, very underrated in my opinion, but it is probably my favourite George Harrison solo records, or one of his anyway. And then from Ringo, we've got 1973's Ringo album. I think this will be Ringo's favourite album in most people's list when they do it. Yeah, it's got some fantastic songs on it. It's got I'm the Greatest, Hold On, Photograph, which is a fantastic song, Sunshine Life for Me, Sail Away Raymond, You're 16, Oh My, Step Lightly, 6 O'Clock, written by Paul McCartney, Devil Woman, which is a very, very strong track indeed, and You and Me, Babe. All the Beatles feature on this album, not all on the same tracks obviously, but the closest they got was I'm the Greatest, where you've got John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo, and then you've got Klaus Voormann and Billy Preston on it as well. Fantastic album. Again, for saying how great this album is, you can usually get this pretty cheaply from certain internet selling sites and record fairs, usually under the £15 mark, and it should come with a book with like drawings done by Klaus as well. So that's that. Right. So you've done your favourite solo Beatles albums. Now you've got to do your least favourite solo Beatles albums. This was a bit tricky, Tone, because you said you can't have any experimental albums, but to be honest, this is the worst album I've got by any member of the Beatles, and it's Electronic Sounds. Luckily, this is a reissue. When I got into the Beatles, I always wanted an original pressing of this. Don't know why. Now I've got the reissue, I'm glad I didn't waste my money on it. Don't get me wrong, it has got some good merits, not a lot. In fact, to be honest, it hasn't really got any merits at all. Apparently half of this was recorded by somebody else, not George Harrison. The cover's okay-ish. I think this was actually done by George. Very similar to his 1982 album artwork, I think. And it does say something about grapple with it, doesn't it, down there? Yeah, if you ever want the original one of these, by all means, if you've got the money, go out and buy it, but I think you might be disappointed when you listen to it. I've had this for about 4 years, and I think I've played it twice. And the only reason I played it twice was to make sure it was as crap as what I thought it was the first time. Not everybody's cup of tea, not even mine. But saying I do like some of John's experimental albums, I don't think this is quite as in that sort of class. Although it is George messing about with the Moog synthesizer and things like that. It is what it is. It's what George was doing at the time. But when you think when this came out, some of the great songs he was writing at that time, like While My Guitar Gently Weeps and, you know, Something and Here Comes the Sun and things like that. And he came out with a rubbish album, really. But like I say, if you like that album, you like it. From John, I don't really dislike any of John Lennon's albums. But I've got to pick one, so I've picked. I think this is the same as yours, Tony, to be honest. Sometime in New York City. I will just do it like that, so that offensive word isn't on it. This was classed as a double album. It wasn't really a double album. It was one album, and then you got like what they called a jam album, which was John and Yoko with Frank Zappa on one side, and then with people like George Harrison for a UNICEF concert from 1969. There's some decent songs on it. I mean, I love New York City. I love Look of the Irish. I think Look of the Irish could actually have been a single. You know, John Sinclair's okay. Sunday Bloody Sunday is a good song. But you know, this was John being very political at the time, wasn't it? Not everybody's cup of tea. You know, it probably is John's weakest solo studio album, put like that. But I still think it's great. Honestly, I do still think it's great. Put like this, I would rather, excuse me one sec. I would rather listen to that 100 times than listen to George Harrison's Electronic Sounds once. Does that make sense? Although I love George Harrison, don't get me wrong, I do love George Harrison, I just don't particularly like that album. For Paul, my least favourite album from him is actually this one, Wings at the Speed of Sound, which I know it's a bit daft because this was one of his most successful albums with Wings, wasn't it? You know, on the back of this and the Venus and Mars album, he did a world tour into which, you know, was very, very popular. There is some good songs on it, don't get me wrong, but you know, I think the highlights on this is Let 'Em In and Silly Love Songs, and the rest, I think he tried to do this more as a proper band than a Paul McCartney album, didn't he? Because a lot of the other people do sing songs. Oh, Cook of the House is a good song as well, and Beware My Love is a good song. You know, but it's probably not one of my, well, it's not one of my favourite McCartney albums, that's all I'll say, which is a shame. I have really tried to get into this album. I don't get me wrong, I don't hate it, but you've got to put your least favourite, and this is my least favourite one. And then for Ringo, my least favourite Ringo album is Ringo's Rottergvjör, or whatever it's called. And I don't like this because I never know how to pronounce this, and to be honest, apart from the old front door to the Apple building of 3 Savile Row in London, that is probably the most interesting thing about this album. You have got a couple of decent songs on it. You've got Cooking, or Cooking in the House of Love, which was by John Lennon. That is okay, actually. And then you've got a song called I Still Love You, which was written by George Harrison, which is quite a haunting song. And then you've got Paul's Pure Gold. you have got a song called Hey Baby, you know, hey, hey baby, which is okay. And then you've got A Dose of Rock and Roll. The rest of it is pretty much not really that good, to be honest. It's a decent album, but it's not one of Ringo's best, in my opinion. It's okay though. Right, so that is question 4. Question 5 is show the best Beatles solo book. I think this is classed as a solo book, Tone, but you'll have to let me know. This is one that I've read many times over the years, and it's A Twist of Lennon. So it's about John Lennon, but it was actually written by Cynthia, his first wife. And it is a very, very interesting book. If you ever really want to know the true story of John and Cynthia, this is the book to get. Or as true as you're going to get, put like that. She pours her heart out in this in places. There's some lovely photos of the early Beatles in here as well. I don't think she ever stopped loving John, did she, Cynthia? Till the day she passed away. That's John in How I Won the War with Dick Lester. Yeah, fantastic book. If you're just a casual fan of John Lennon, it's probably not for you. It has even got some of John's drawings in this as well. The doodles, as he used to call them. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. Very, very entertaining. Very sad in some ways, you know, but yeah, it is. If you want to know what life was like living with John Lennon in the early 60s, then she's the person that would know into it really. So yeah, so I hope that one does count. Then what was that? That was number 6, wasn't it? No, that's number 5. Show a solo Beatles item that is not a record or a book. What have I done with it? I'm going to show you this, Tone. This is something I've had for a long time. The first time I ever went to Liverpool with Susie Sue, in around 2015 I think it was. Sue brought me this. And it's a little statue of John Lennon. And this statue is actually outside the Cavern pub, not the Cavern Club, the Cavern pub, which is opposite the Cavern Club. And most fans, when they go to Liverpool, will have the photograph taken with the statue, the real one, obviously. So that's like always got a little bit of, you know, sentimental value to me, because it's like one of the first things Sue ever bought me, and obviously it was the first time we'd been to Liverpool together. I mean, I'd been to Liverpool before, but many, many, many years before that. So yeah, so that is always very, very close to my heart, and this always makes me smile. If I'm feeling down or anything, I just look at that and I think, well, what would John do? What would John do in this situation? He'd probably answer better questions than me to this. Show your favourite solo Beatles box set. There's only really one, isn't there, Tone, to be honest. Well, in my opinion, there's only really one, and it is this. Oh, it's this big boy. All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. A masterpiece. This is actually the 8 LP version. So, you know, there is a lot of extra tracks on here, but I do love the original triple album as well from 1970. I mean, you've got the original album, you've got some masterpieces on that, haven't you? I'd Have You Anytime, My Sweet Lord, Wah Wah, Isn't It a Pity version 1. I mean, you think, isn't it a pity? You listen to the lyrics of that, and George was about 27 when he wrote that. What is Life? If Not For You, Behind the Locked Door, Run of the Mill, Let It Down, Beware of Darkness. Apple Scruffs is a fantastic song. I always think Apple Scruffs could have possibly fitted onto the original Get Back album. The Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp, Let It Roll. I love that song. I really do love that song. Waiting on You All, and All Things Must Pass. And then you've got things like I Dig Love, The Art of Dying, Isn't It a Pity version 2, which is fantastic, and Hear Me Lord. And then side the final original disc, which is sides 5 and 6, is Out of the Blue. It's Johnny's birthday. Plug me in. I Remember Jeep and Thanks for the Pepperoni, which was like a jam album, wasn't it? As in, it wasn't, you know, just George messing about and demoing records and things, songs and things like that. This was a hell of a lot of money, by the way. Well, it was and it wasn't. It depends. Depends what you mean by a hell of a lot of money. If you're saying there's 8 LPs in there and there's a book and everything else, I don't think it was actually that bad. So yes, that is my favourite solo Beatles box set. But I could have showed you that or the original 1970 one, but I thought I'm trying to make this video as quick as I can, so people don't get bored. Show your favourite solo Beatles live album. You made me think on this one. I do like what is it? The Wings one. Wings Over the World, or whatever it is. Wings Over America. Is it Wings Over America? Yeah, I do like Wings Over America. I've actually got about 4 copies of that. I also like John's live piece in Toronto, but technically that would only be half an album, wouldn't it? Because the other side is all Yoko going things like that. So I'm going to do another George Harrison one, mate. So this like tag has got a lot of George Harrison ones in it, and it's George Harrison live in Japan with the Eric Clapton band, which I think was actually recorded in 1991, wasn't it? So George is backed by Eric Clapton and his band, and George is on really fine form on here. If you don't know the songs, I will go through the songs very quickly. It's he does Beatles and his solo stuff as well. So I Want to Tell You, Old Brown Shoe, Taxman, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, and If I Needed Someone. That's side 1. Side 2 is a double LP, by the way. Is Something, What Is Life, Dark Horse, Piggies. I mean, George Harrison doing a live version of Piggies, that always makes me laugh. And it's actually a fantastic version. And then got My Mind Set on You. Side 3 is Cloud 9, Here Comes the Sun, My Sweet Lord, All Those Years Ago, and Cheer Down. Cheer Down is a fantastic song. And then side 4 is Devil's Radio, Isn't It a Pity, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and then it finishes off with Roll Over Beethoven. I think this is a reissue that came out of the box set. This is one I got from, where did I get it from? Bakewell. Little record shop I found in Bakewell. It's £38, but for double album, that ain't bad, is it? I mean, I've been looking on the internet today at a few records that I'm thinking of getting, and the going rate for an album now is about 35 quid, isn't it? For one album. So the last one, question 9, is show 3 non-album singles. So, what would you say? I don't know. I've gone for John Lennon with Instant Karma, which was never officially released on an album, except compilation albums. This is on Apple, Play Loud, original UK pressing. And then on the B side it is Who Has Seen the Wind, and it says Play Quiet on there, or maybe don't play at all. I shouldn't be nasty, should I? So that's one. You've got to do 3, remember. So that's Instant Karma from 1970, and wasn't that recorded and mixed in a day or something? And he did 2 versions on the British TV show Top of the Pops of that, and one he fluffs the lyrics up on. Fantastic song. I can never really understand why that didn't get to number 1 in the charts at the time, because it was strong enough to get to number 1, wasn't it? Then we've got Back Off Boogaloo by Ringo Starr. Again, fantastic single. Again, should have got higher in the charts, and it probably did. This is on a blue Apple label, and on the B side is Blind Man. The actual record is in really nice condition, but somebody's wrote the name on it. So, but you don't play the label, do you? You play the record. And when I bought this, I actually thought this was a one-off, or a maybe, you know, a proof thing, because I thought, well, everyone I've seen this isn't in med. And until you look really closely, But I think somebody's actually coloured that in and felt tip pen. But they've done a really, really good job, because they've even done it on the back for Blind Man. And they've even coloured the apple in red, look. So does that make this unique? Nah, of course it don't. And then the final one is Another Day by Paul McCartney. Or is this by Paul and Linda McCartney? I can never work this one out. No, it's just released as Paul McCartney. From 1971. So there you've got one from 1970, 71 and 72. The B-side to this, by the way, is Oh Woman Oh Why, which is actually a really, really good track. But I do find it hard to listen to sometimes because there's a gunshot in it. You can hear a gun being fired in it. And, you know, after what happened to John, it is a bit of a hard thing to listen to. Obviously, Paul didn't know John was going to get murdered by a madman, did he, with a gun when he did that song. But, I mean, it wasn't about John anyway, was it? But, yeah, Another Day could possibly have been a Beatles song. It is very, very Beatlesque. Yeah, so that is my 9 answers to Beatley Tone's solo Beatles tag for 2024. So if you've got a Beatles channel, come on, join in. Let's all get behind Tony on this one. If you haven't ever seen Beatley Tone's Beatles channel, please check him out. And, you know, join in. Even if you haven't got a Beatles channel, but you on YouTube, you can actually make a video for it. Or, if you want to send me a comment or send Beatley Tone a comment, and you could write down what your answers would be to these questions. But I think Tony's trying to get as many people to do this tag as possible. So I hope that all of you lot out there in Beatles land, the Beatles community, the VC, YouTube and people of the internet will join in this. Obviously, if you're not a really, really big Beatles fan, you might not have many Beatles records, but just show what you've got. It doesn't matter. It's not a competition. It's just a little bit of fun. I've really enjoyed doing this, Tony. You have made me think a bit, because like I say, I'd actually come up here to listen to some music, and I just saw it said notification Beatley Tone or something. So I had a look and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Why not do that? Why I ain't got anything to do for half an hour, although it took half an hour to nearly do it. So I hope you're all well and dandy out there. If you've liked this video, please leave me a like, and if you want to comment, please comment. And obviously, if you're not subscribed, think about subscribing. It's free, it doesn't cost you a penny. And if you haven't, well, if you have liked this, obviously go and check out Beatley Tone's channel. You know, like I say, he's trying to get as many people involved in this as he can. I actually think this is a good idea, mate. I think some of those questions are actually quite good, and some of them do make you think, because although what's the one that makes you think, you put your least favourite albums from the solo Beatles after your favourite albums from the solo Beatles. Now, just because your least favourite albums doesn't mean you hate them, do you? Although the George Harrison one, that Electronic Sounds, I'd just keep your money. Stream it if you can. So that's going to be it, folks. So whatever you're doing, please stay safe. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and like I say, please join in. Feel free to join in. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a bit of fun, and you know, we could all do with a bit of fun the way the things are in the world at the minute, which we're not going to go into. So until the next time, it's peace, love and happiness to you all, and don't forget to check out Beatley Tone. Thanks, mate. You've made my afternoon quite funny, to be honest, because like I've done something completely different than I thought I was going to do. So until the next time, cheer everybody. Love and peace, love and peace.